run. So good luck again, man.
Alright, hopefully things don't go haywire again. On the technical side or on my side. We ready? Don't go haywire again.
Yep.
Alright, 3, 2, 1, go.
Yep.
Alright, 3, 2, 1, go.
So, sorry for everyone that listened or if you didn't, but this is Breath of Fire Dragon Quarter, where it's a very different game than the other 4 Breath of Fires. Capcom tried something really different, and in my opinion and a couple of others, they did it right. So the story of this game is 1,000 years ago, the earth was scorched by a battle of dragons. So everyone decided to live underground. So in this world, there's a caste system bound by your D ratio. So Ryu's D ratio is a 1/8192, which means he's pretty low on the scale. So if you have a low D ratio, you're put in a place that the air is not very fresh. There's not a lot of food. Where the higher your D ratio is, the cleaner the food or the cleaner the air is, and there's more nutritious food. So, and your D ratio also dictates your chance for linking with a dragon, which we'll get to later on. So here Rex is going to sell his tonic and his save token, and it's going to give him enough money to buy 10 meats and 4 bombs, which we'll be using for encounters later on. So if you want to if you're playing casually or just wanting to play through safely, you can buy an extra 3 meat if you want, just to be a little more safer. So Ryu is a grunt working for the government as a soldier, pretty much. They're called rangers. So for the part of the story, Ryu is going to meet with Bosch, who is a 1/64. So they're going to secure some top secret cargo, and that's where the story takes us right now.
Yeah, the lift is broken down, so we have to just walk the tracks.
So when you start this game, there is a lot of randomness. There's 2 set layouts for every floor you enter. Now, by layouts, there's 2 different enemy patterns you can encounter on every floor, as well as the different setup of boxes. What will be in the boxes will stay within a pretty good range, but this game kind of acts like its own little mini randomizer. So what Bosch did there was to preserve meat, is he put it down quickly for a second, and then picked it back up. Now meat will work with a good chunk of the enemies, and especially the enemies that have the Metal Gear Solid exclamation point over their head. So when they do that, they pause briefly for a second, and you're able to do that trick. There are some enemies where you put down a meat and they run right towards you, therefore you have to sacrifice the meat and just move on from there. So with the randomness, most of the shops have 1 of 4 different layouts they can have. Item shops and weapon shops also apply to this, and that's set at the beginning of the game. So you're never going to have one run that's the same as the other one unless you continue from a blank new game. So anyone that's watched RPG Limit Break from last year, there's been a couple of route changes in the last couple of months, all thanks to Rexdawn and a Japanese player, Romato. So normally you would have to use up 3 of your meat in that room. But with running in a certain way and getting the enemies to come to you, you can run through them and save yourself 3 meat. Now, he was slashing the boxes after that. He was looking for an item called a reflex or a power meal. Now, what a reflex does is it increases your speed by 1 permanently. and your power meal increases your strength by 1. So getting one this early will help out greatly. So here we're introduced to something called a danger room. A danger room is a room that locks all doors and will not open until you defeat the enemies inside of them. So you see them using you see Rex using the meat to group the enemies together and then blowing them with 2 bombs. And this is your chance for redemption. So the bombs at this point in the game do quite a bit of damage. So the nuggets here, in a serious run you would reset, but it's not that big of a deal.
That went better than last time.
So as you can see, the bombs did a little bit more damage to the nuggets compared to the dukes. The bombs, all the traps are fire-based damage, so any enemy that's weak to fire, it'll do extra damage. And that was a very nice recovery. So there's 2 ways to play this. You can grab the key on the ledge and get the skill kick, which if you want to run a safe route of this, you can use it to help out in one battle, or you can end up skipping it just to save a couple of seconds, more for a battle coming up later on. So here we end up having a cutscene where Ryu ends up hearing voices, and he doesn't know what's going on. So in the next room, we'll see a dragon pinned up against a wall. Now this is what they call a dragon half. This is Ojin, and he was one of the dragons that was cloned from one of the original dragons, the ones that end up scorching the earth. Now you'll see a little icon in the top right corner, which means you're starting to link with the dragon, but you've had no extra abilities. We'll keep expanding on this later on as the game goes. So in this room coming up after this, there's a 40% chance that 2 boxes will spawn, and there's a 5% chance that we'll get a power meal and a power boost. And like I said before, the power meal increases your strength by 1, but we're looking more for the power boost, which increases which increases your attack power in battle by 25% for 3 turns.
Heyo!
And he's going for the second chance, and he's got it. Nice. So this allows you to initially skip 1 turn of the battle. You don't need it, but it just speeds everything up that little bit extra, and you can play a little more riskier just because you have such limited healing items that it makes it work a little better. So going through the story, the train that they finally got to, that they've been trying to get to since the beginning of the game, gets attacked by an organization called Trinity, which is an anti-government organization. And they end up blowing up the train, and Ryu falls an unknown amount of distance, makes a crater.
200 meters.
Falls 200 meters, makes a crater, and walks away like nothing happened.
Ooh,
So,
this is very good.
Depending on what's in this box, 200 party. So he's got the power meal that gives him +1. Normally you'd be level 6 for this boss, but since he found that extra that party experience in the box, he's going to bring himself to level 8. Which gives him a chance to outspeed the boss. Now, the bosses in this game, or any enemy you fight in this game, has a chance to, they roll a random speed stat, where at level 8, when you unequip your shield, gives you a nice chance to outspeed it. So this boss will, when it starts, will do a spirit charge and then an attack. And as you've seen, Rex ended his turn, so that gave him effectively 2 full bars of AP. So now he's going to heal up, use the power boost, and he's going to use 7 slices. but he's got to be careful of the damage. If you damage the boss more than 220, you'll put him in his second phase, which makes him attack twice in a row. Which is not bad, but just because we do have such limited items, we want to attack him, especially with a power boost. We want to attack him in one full string. Nice crit. So unless, I'm not going to say it.
Don't worry.
Nice. I was like, unless he misses, crap. So that was a very good Cyclops battle. So, and now we're introduced to our second character, Nina. So now, after the Cyclops battle, Ryu is free to D-dash. So we're going to check this box for more party experience. So D-dash allows you to run at an accelerated speed, and you cannot initiate battles while in it. And right now it doesn't cost any D counter, so we're free to abuse it right now before it starts harming us later on.
I got an XP drop earlier. It's preferred that it's money, but a little extra XP is alright.
Yeah. So here we're running into our third character, Lynn, which is a Warren. Now Lynn is the Trinity member that attacked the train that we were supposed to be guarding earlier. So Lynn is kind of our long distance attacker, Nina is our mage, and then Ryu's just our overall character. So, and now we're coming up to our second danger room, the spider danger room. So there's one of two patterns. The ceiling is a little more preferred. We're just going to throw a meat, place a bomb, and then we're going to slice them just carefully to make sure they're still in the bomb radius, that red ring. And now for the second room, he's going to abuse his iframes, place a bomb and a meat, group them together, and end it quickly. If you've watched the Limit Break run from about 6 months ago, if you want to do it safe, or what the old route did, you can place the meat behind the wall, D-dash in, and then direct all the spiders against the wall, because the meat won't expire unless it's eaten. So then you can place a bomb behind it and kill it just to be a little safer route. And then we'll check this red box for an item. Now when we pick up an item that's question mark, it's a piece of gear, whether it be offensive or defensive. And you don't know what it is till you appraise it. You can sell it as it is for 100 zenny, or you can spend 100 zenny to appraise it and then sell it for its full value. Now if you're playing casually, or especially in the speed run, depending on how your zenny route is, the items you pick up that are question marks don't stack, and you only have 5 inventory slots per backpack page, and right now we have 3 pages. So if you start picking up items, you can fill up the package really quickly, which could be a problem if you play this like traditional RPGs where you want to pick up every item. So here we're just going to take a slight detour for marathon safety and pick up a save token. The save points in this game, it kind of mimics Resident Evil 2 with the typewriters. There's save tokens at the beginning and the end of every dungeon, and you got to use the save token to save your game. If you don't have a token, you can't save your game. If you have an NTSC version, you can do a soft save, where if you play the PAL version, you start with 9 save tokens. So here we run into our good buddy Bosch, and he's been sent to take Nina from us. And since Ryu fights back, Bosch ends up killing him, which ends up awakening his latent dragon abilities. So as you can see in the top right corner, now we have a percentage. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use Nina to put down 3 G flares. We're going to use Lynn's push ability to move Bosch into the flares, and then use Ryu to D-breath. and I'm just going to be quiet for this. Can you? Oh, you. Oh. Now he wants to try to end the turn on 0 AP just so he doesn't have that green ring expand and not.
Alright, I got it. Alright, I'm gonna do the deep breath now. Very good.
So 210 is the lowest you can get in this battle, which is very good. So the D counter route in this is pretty tight. So now since we've awakened our dragon abilities, we can't dash anymore. But
Well, we can, it just costs at a cost.
yeah, it costs 0.07% per tap, which doesn't sound like a lot, but if you use 3 or 4 dashes, it starts adding up really quickly, which can end up screwing you, especially so early in the game. So here, Rex is just buying 2 bombs just to get him through the next danger room. Now, while in dragon form, if you turn into a dragon in battle and end your turn, it uses up 2%. And then it increases your defense in battle quite a bit. So there are a couple of enemies that can damage you in dragon form, but it's very rare. So,
But we're just gonna be using it to blow through bosses.
yes. So the one thing with this game is it did really good at making the dragon powers feel really overpowered. And a lot of people didn't like the D counter just because it felt constricting, which I felt the way too playing this game casually. But once you get a good handle of it, it's kind of good they put it this way, just because it would be, you could just crush everything with very little responses.
It's very rewarding if you manage your D counter correctly too.
So we're gonna get to see the interesting Duke Danger Room,
Yep.
where Rex is gonna be using Lynn's overworld ability, the charge shot, to move one of the Duke Magi's back into the group so he doesn't end up wandering off. Now, you can lock onto the target while holding the R2 button, and you can see him doing the meat trick again, just to save as much meat as possible. So the general gimmick is you group everyone together, and then you're going to use 2 bombs and then D-breath. Now you're going to notice with the big Dukes that it doesn't do a lot of damage. Their defense is one of the highest in the games, but
Just a
D-breath.
moment.
Oh, you're behind then.
Alright.
So D-breath basically nullifies all damage. Nice breath.
You mean defense?
Yes, sorry, defense. So we're gonna slice this box for another save token. We're gonna pick up the drops, and then leave the area.
It should be noted that the damage we do to the Duke battlers is very low, but that 70 damage we do is like a 0.35% D counter save at best, which does help.
Any D counter you can save early on will pay dividends later on in the game. If you wanted to be super safe, you can pick up a couple more items and then throw bombs at the Dukes before you initiate battle, just to drop that D breath down a little more. If you're starting off with a speed run or just casually, it's a good way to keep your D counter under control. So here we're just gonna sell the drops from the battle. We're gonna leave here with 22 bombs and 2 extra stacks of meat, so around 23. And this will take us through mostly the rest of the game, until we need the next shopping area. And going into this battle with under 5% is very good. So this next battle coming up is against 3 rangers, and it has a little effect where it will try to poison your characters every turn. So if you're playing this casually, there's no point in healing your characters just because they're going to keep getting poisoned after every turn. I'm going to pause because I don't know where you are.
Ryu's getting shot. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm transforming now.
Yeah. Alright, I'll wait for a second.
Alright.
Alright. So, here you're going to notice a little bit of turn order manipulation. Now, this game sets your turn order based on your speed, but you can move yourself lower on the list to have the enemies attack before you. So you're going to see him moving Nina and Lynn to the bottom just because that's faster than ending the turn and watching the green circle come into them. And then after all 3 of them have moved, they'll line them up perfectly for Ryu to do a deep breath.
So I asked for quiet time for deep breath just because for every frame you hold the button down, it's 10 damage, and I want to save as much D-counter as I can. So it helps for me to concentrate so I can release as perfectly as possible.
So after the battle, the poison keeps spewing out in the story, and it starts poisoning everyone around it. So you end up finding Nina has a secret ability where she ends up purifying the air around her. Now, if you're playing casually and you had Nina as your leader, there'd be little red specks flying off of her wings, and now they're black, which starts to tell you that something's not right. So, just a little bit talk about the party experience. It's additional percentage of experience after the battle, which takes into the account of how many enemies you kill in that battle, if you meet special conditions, if you start with them eating meat, if you kill them with traps. All these things start adding up over and over again, which gives you the ability to go through this game with absolutely no grinding and just fighting the absolute battles. Just because with a couple of the multiplications, we get such a large amount of experience for really just doing normal battles, which was the goal of the game with the pet system, where they were trying to get you to use these. So here we come up to the Zenny grind of the run. So we're gonna just bomb these canophages, and they're gonna drop us a nice 10,000 Zenny. Now, it's to be noted, if you attack them with anything else but traps, for every attack you do, they'll drop the Zenny account in half. So if you do 2 attacks, your 10,000 Zenny turns into 2,500. And then we'll slash that box there for party experience, or we're kind of hoping for a little bit of Zenny.
I was hoping for money because at this point I've gotten both XP drops from, actually 3 from boxes up to this point. So my money right now is actually very low. I have a lot of experience, but the best it's going to do is have me at level 17 for a boss coming up, and I'm going to have to sell some stuff later on, I think, for more money.
So in this cutscene, we find out what actually happened to Nina. The wings on her back aren't really wings, it's part of her air purification. And basically she's starting to die slowly just because the air is so dirty. So this starts to fuel Ryu's need to go to the surface and start finding clean air. So you'll notice when Rex is walking, the D counter is going up slightly and slowly. So the way it works is for every 8 to 20 steps, it's weighted more towards the higher amounts in the beginning of the game. For every 8 to 20 steps, your D counter will go up 0.01%. And that's the only time the counter will go up. If you stand still and swing your sword, it won't go up. So a lot of people got daunting by this, but you have to walk around so much in this game. for it to go up to anything that it would be really noticeable.
Yeah, people think it's actually a timer, but really, it's just a step counter. But yeah, it is a bit daunting. But yeah, like he said, it's so negligible.
So here we're going to do a marathon safe deviation. The shop coming up is one of 2 shops in the game where its sell list is static. So which makes it really easy for routing. In older routes and for the marathon, we're going to be picking up the Plasma Macer +1 just because it has more attack and more speed than what we have now as the Ranger Edge. Now with the Plasma Macer, it's got +1. So in this game, when a weapon has +1 or +2, the plus adds 3 attack or 3 magic to the weapon per every plus. So that weapon is 3 attack points stronger than a regular Plasma Macer, which doesn't sound like a lot, but once we start factoring in the way the dragon calculates damage, 3 attack is so much of a difference, especially once again so early in the run. So for anyone starting out the speed run or going from an old route, we would also buy a weapon in that shop called the Antenna. Now the Antenna is an electric based weapon, where the weapon Nina has now is a fire based weapon. So the Antenna has a great speed boost for Nina, who is already pretty fast to begin with. So we skip it now just because the lightning animation, the tier 2 lightning, tier 2 electric, the animation is just so slow, and its attack pattern, it's a line of attack instead of a spread, so it's not really practical, where there's an enemy coming up that gives a constant drop of an item we need. That just makes it more optimized.
Yeah, you don't have to go out of your way, you save some money. It's faster.
So this is another route change coming up, is we fight this battle with the 5 Igus. Now in a serious any % run, we would fight this anyways, but we would look for a weapon that drops called the Plasma Macer.
Sapphire.
Now, the small one, Sapphire, sorry.
And what do you know, I didn't get it. That's why we picked up the Plasma Macer +1 at the shop.
So each one of those small goos have a 25% chance to drop the Sapphire Macer. But more importantly, we want the key that unlocks the chest for a weapon called the Cleaner for Lyn, which I'll go over a little bit more after the next danger room. So this danger room coming up is probably one of the most random, and therefore making it quite a bit difficult to do. The green bats on the roof like to hang there for an unknown amount of time. So you kind of just gotta lob meat and have everyone drop down, and then make sure you don't get hit in the back by another enemy from trying to keep everyone grouped together. And then once everyone dropped down, you just block them in a corner, huck some bombs at them, place 2, and then just blow them up. Now, with the Plasma Macer, if it doesn't kill the bats or the aggressors, they're weak to lightning or electric. So grabbing the Plasma Macer just helps them do that little bit of extra damage.
Yeah, somehow I didn't put it close enough for the enemies aligned in a certain way that I wasn't expecting. But it's okay.
So here coming up in one of the next rooms, we're going to be looking for an item called a Reflex, which, like I've said before, increases your speed by 1.
Ooh, I got a power meal.
Oh, that's second best.
Actually, I have 2. That's 2 power meals in one run.
That's +2, yeah. So the Reflex, we want to get as much speed on Ryu as we can, just for the second last boss does have a chance to outspeed Ryu even at level 33. So the more speed we can get on him now, the easier the better of a chance it to go. So we're gonna buy 40 procs bombs and 4 aid kits just to heal up our party. And the reason we didn't heal the poison up from earlier is after this battle, Lyn and Nina really aren't used that much. it's Nina is more of a backup character, and Lynn's just not used at all. So here we level up Lynn to 13, and Ryu should be able to get little over 17. And then we're just going to do a safety save, just because we haven't done one in a while. So the next set of battles coming up is kind of like a little boss rush, where you're going to see Lynn use the weapon called the Cleaner that we picked up. Now it has a very useful skill attached to it called Come Here. And with Lynn, you can combo her language skills together to make a very powerful attack that makes up time from fighting the Aigus, where the older route would skip them. So here we're just going to keep turn order manipulating. We're going to put Ryu down to where we want him to attack, and we're just going to keep skipping Nina down little bit by little bit, just to make sure it's hard for Ryu to die in this, but we want to keep Lynn alive. We want to keep Lynn alive at all costs to when her turn comes. If she dies, it's not that, it couldn't be that bad, but it could be at the same time, just because Rex doesn't have kick to back up on. But the chances of Lynn dying are pretty slim.
They're pretty slim, but keeping Nina, if Nina is targeted by command, then she'll be attacked, and thus keeping her alive will keep Lynn alive. Also, this is an unusual setup here.
So once it cuts down to Lynn's turn, he's gonna equip the Cleaner and use Hey Hey and then Come Here. Now what that does is that sucks the enemies in a cone formation towards Rex, which allows him to skip kick that he didn't pick up from that first Duke room. Now he's gonna do something quite amazing and line everyone up in a row while using this ability, making them available to D-Breath. I'm gonna be quiet because I don't know where I am.
Thanks. Alright, 760 is not bad.
Nice.
So that was a really awkward setup because that one ranger went far down quite more than usual.
So if you're playing this casually, Lynn has a 30 AP ability called Blow Up. Now, that Hey Hey Come Here will suck every enemy in within that Blow Up's range. So if you want to practice it or try it out or just use it through a casual playthrough, it'll help give you the guidelines of that ability. So this is the second boss, Asimov. And Asimov, when you bring him down to 1 HP, he becomes almost invincible for 3 turns until he explodes. Now here we'll start seeing different dragon mechanics being used. We're pretty much done with D-Breath right now, just because it doesn't pay off at all. So we did a charge and a twister, and that brought him to a self-destruct. So Dragon Breath goes through that, so we don't have to wait the 3 turns until he blows up. Which I'll explain more of the dragon mechanics just after this battle. So what Rex is trying to do here is he's trying to wall Xeno off so she can't come and attack one of the characters. And he got it quite nicely. So he's going to decharge and then twister, and if he gets a crit, there's a good chance that she's going to end up dying.
Oh no, it's guaranteed.
Oh, it's guaranteed?
Yeah, if you get a crit.
Oh no, I'm saying if you didn't get a crit.
Oh, if I didn't get a crit, no, there's a small chance, yeah.
Yeah. So the way the dragon abilities work is when you turn into the dragon, your attack stat is halved. So when you seen him decharge for the first time, it brought him to ×1. And then if you decharge again, it would bring him to ×2. So if Ryu has 40 attack stat, when he turns into a dragon, he has 20. When you decharge him, he has 40. The ability he used, their Twister, has a ×3 multiplier, and it hits twice with a knockback effect. So you're turning your 40 AP Ryu into effectively 240 attack power Ryu for 1.5 D counter, or for 3.5 D counter, and 30 AP. So when you turn into Dragon, it uses 1%. Decharges use 2. There's your level 1 skill Vortec that uses 10 AP, 1%, and it's a ×2 multiplier. Then there's the 20 AP Hurricane, which I don't suggest anyone using. It attacks in a cone, but it increases your counter by 1.25 per enemy. So unless you're really back against the wall, try to avoid that skill at all cost, just because you're going to end up hurting yourself more at the end. So leaving the Zeno fight with under 24% is doing really good right now. There's the D count, the D counter is so well mapped out in this game, and then there's backup strats for certain bosses just in case you happen to go over, just because it is, like I said earlier, easier to make changes earlier on in the game than later in the game.
Yeah, we'll spend most of the game just walking.
It's Corridor Simulator. But here in the story, we're heading to Trinity to try, because Lynn said they have the equipment available to help Nina out with her issues. And the Industone has some pretty good music. So here with the Bat Danger Room, what we want to do is throw a meat out to entice all the enemies to group together, and then use the wall trick that you can use on the Spider Danger Room if you want. Now we're going to use Lynn's charge attack just to guarantee that the red bat burr from it doesn't go through the door and eat our meat, just because there is no safe way of getting them out. Now, if you start an enemy with a battle with an enemy after doing damage with the traps and then retreat, that damage is resetted. So unless you buy extra procs bombs, you could end up shorting yourself for the next boss coming up. So Burfamit drops the level 2 fire skill Fire Blast, which we hope we don't need in the rest of the run, but it will help for a backup just in case we don't get a couple of crits.
Yeah, it's recommended for any level of play, honestly. Even if you're going for a world record, you should really have that backup.
Yes.
Because if you don't, and you fail to kill a boss coming up, you lose. You just lose.
Just because you're so under-leveled.
Yeah, and
you're not really picking up optimal weapons.
Yeah, and all your characters get put to sleep, and then it's basically over.
So here we're introduced to the Dark Rangers. So Tantra was sent to basically kill you and steal Nina, but we say no. So we're going to use our patented 1 charge, 1 twister, and we're going to punch him in the face till he falls over. And I hope everyone likes the sound, because we're going to be hearing it again real soon. So yes, there's no way to decrease the D counter. Once it's where it is what it is. Your D ratio is also the same, where if you end up going through the game and having a 1/512, if you do your next run and it's really bad, it will never decrease.
In that case, it's a good thing.
Yes. So if you have a save file that's 1/4, and then you just decide to mess around, there's no way after the end of the game that you'll be back down to 1/512 or whatever. So we do have different fight setups for Tantra 1 if our D counter is a little high. You can skip the charge and do 2 twisters and just hope for more crits and then finish them off normally. So this run is pretty well documented for little changes to battles just to help you get through to the end. So here we're gonna meet the one of the sub bosses, Dagon, which it's a cool boss because you can actually use traps on him. So what Rex is doing is Rex is positioned himself far enough away where the procs bombs and bombs have an interesting quality where they can hit an enemy twice. So normally you would just go right up close to him, use 25 procs, and then it's over. But since Rex steps back a little bit and spaces the bombs out in a way, he can end up saving himself 10 procs bombs, which doesn't sound like a lot, but with the Zenny run also being pretty tight, that it just gives us that little bit of extra money to buy a better weapon in the shop coming up. So as you see here, Rex put Frost and Fire Blast on the X for both the 10 and 20 AP. Now if you want to combo a skill, you can't combo a skill out of a trap. So if he has 70 AP, he can now combo Frost into Fire Blast because they're both on the X key. Where if they weren't, he would have to use another 10 AP ability before he could use it. So Tantra 2 is one of the bosses where you need a crit to kill him. And that'll be coming the theme for the next little bit. That's why we
got him.
Nice. So a critical increases your damage by about 50%. So that's why his first hit did 800 and then his second hit. There is damage variances. So
yeah, the dragon attacks, the damage range is very large.
When you get to a higher attack stat, the variances become a lot more noticeable, and we'll see it with a couple of bosses later on too. Now we're just going to check this shop for bombs, which unfortunately we don't have. But this will be the first instinct of trying to find a better weapon.
I got busted again.
Oh, dirty. So the Buster Sword does have a little bit more attack than the Plasma Macer, and even will have more than
the Violet Blade
that we ID later on. But if you have the extra money, you might as well go shopping for a better weapon. So just by the way the dragon mechanics work, it just a +6 attack. After you charge twice and use a twister, it's just so much extra attack power. So at this point in the story, the Ranger Labs has the arm of the other D construct, which is what a person is called when they linked with a dragon. And Bosch is trying to get it artificially grafted on his arm because he has a hard time coming to grips on how him being a 164 and on his way to becoming a regent, which is basically the top personnel in this world, on how he could be beaten consistently by someone with such a low D ratio. So, one thing about this game is if you end up doing a penalty retreat. So if the enemy bumps into you and you end up pushing the start and then select, you end up losing 10% of the Zenny you have, and you don't end up gaining any experience if you end up killing an enemy. So the items escape will let you go with your regular XP, but you won't get the party, but you keep your money. So if you've been Zenny grinding for like a 1/4 run, it's a good item to have in your inventory just to keep your money at where it is.
You can get an escape in the speedrun too if you're lucky.
Yeah, I think you get 2. as the story goes on, we've now entered Trinity, where it ends up appearing to be an empty hallway, and Nina ends up collapsing. So they've had all this medical equipment ready for her. So Rex is going to ID the Violet Blade that he got from the storage fight, which is the fastest sword for Ryu. So the weapons don't gain speed with the more additives there is to it. So we'll keep the Violet Blade for getting Ryu to go first, and then we'll use the Buster Sword for the damage.
Yeah. So when you start a battle in this, it's only the first weapon you have equipped where your speed is determined, and then you can just switch off to another weapon until the next turn.
So in this battle coming up, we're going to abuse the fact that the dragon has infinite movement. So 2 charges and a vortex to each one of these rangers ? Will guarantee a kill, which, as you can guess, speeds everything up quite quickly instead of having everyone run to you and you run to them. Ooh, almost forgot one.
Yeah, I almost forgot.
So, as David said at RPGLB, he nicknamed this guy coming up Goofy, and I still get a chuckle out of this. So, as for the story, the person we met before the battle, Maybeth, is one of 2 1/4s in this game. So he has the highest D ratio to match with a dragon. And he also used to be a regent, which then turned an anti-government organization. So he ended up using his people dressed as rangers to try to convince Ryu to join them. And then after he found out that Maybeth put him up to it, Maybeth ends up giving him a key card saying that this is the key to the sky, which we'll find out much later on in the game. And also leaving that Trinity battle with under 44. You want to be around 43.5 while leaving that. So the fact that Rex is 42.3 is quite amazing at this point, which means he's got a lot to spare if he wants to do D-dashes or a couple of quick kills. So, in the next room coming up, there's a chance for a Celtis +1, which would be a sword we would really like. Any free swords with a higher attack stat is better than no sword. So you'll see Rex now just using a little bit of dash here and there, just because he has been so conservative.
To be honest, you always want to D-dash through that room just because that room is super random.
I don't D-dash past the Wonder Box. I take the chance.
I stopped doing that.
So we're just making our way to the next area. If these highwaymen aren't looking towards you, there's a good chance you can just run by them and they'll split away evenly, where you can save the D-dash compared to when they're looking at you and want to come after you.
Yeah, we got to see both examples.
So the D-dashes are worked into the D counter or the D counter route. We know which rooms we have to and which ones we don't. So here we end up running into our old good buddy Bosch again. And this time he's got a brand new fancy arm. So this is the first boss where we're gonna need to do a little more damage. So we're gonna end up using 2 twisters, and we're really hoping for a crit or good damage rolls here. Oh. So since he's so close, Rex is gonna try to finish him with slices.
Uh-oh.
Skip to Lynn. Nice. So that could have gone one of two ways.
Okay, that's not too bad.
So, Dragon Slayer is an ability that will damage Ryu in dragon form. So, if you're fighting Bosch 2 is what we call him casually, he will heal himself at the end of every turn compared to how many hit points he has left. So, casually, if you're not prepared for this battle or you come in with a little less of healing items and you can't use your dragon form, it can take a little longer than normal, just because he ends up healing for 200, 300, 400 hit points a turn.
So what ended up happening there was, because I only have the Buster Sword, I wasn't able to kill him in one turn, and his HP bar wasn't even visible anymore. So I figured I could finish him off with Ryu, but it just goes to show you that like the weapon you have for that fight really matters.
So here we're just getting rid of all our unwanted equipment.
Look what I got! I got the Ranger Edge.
We're gonna take one last chance, and we end up getting the Ranger Edge, which is still a pretty nice find. So we're pretty set for the rest of the game as terms and weapons. There are no place to really find any more past this point. So Bosch ends up getting knocked off the platform where you're having the battle with him, and the deconstruct ends up talking to him and says, you know, do you want to hate more? And then he ends up taking possession of his arm and killing Bosch. So Bosch is now linked with that dragon known as Cheshire, which we'll see what happens with that, corresponding with that much later in the game. So this danger room can be a little tricky just because these zombies do like to rush you pretty quickly. Where if you throw a meat and then a prox bomb, it'll stun them for just quite a bit and let them sit against the wall. So then you can throw 2 prox bombs and then kill the Charon. Nice, and you got the zombie. You want to try to keep the skeletons out of the battle, just because the text box that shows up after you waste a couple of seconds, and the XP they give really isn't worth it. So, like here with this pattern, he has to D-dash through the first room and not the second. But if he got the other pattern, it would be reversed. So you want to be going into this battle around 49, 49 and a half is a nice mark to be for still being safe.
It doesn't get much safer than this, really.
No.
I probably could have gotten by that without D-dashing, but I wasn't going to take that chance again.
No. There are some enemies later on where it is better to D-dash, because if you get in a battle with them, just because you are so under-leveled, you'll end up just getting clobbered before you can do anything. So, wasting that little bit, or not wasting, but utilizing that little bit just to keep the run going is worth it. And here we'll slice these guys just to get them out of our way.
I would have D-dashed through them, but that pattern of them is difficult for me sometimes, and I didn't want to risk running into a battle.
So, we're coming up to our first region battle. And if you played this game casually when it first came out before the days of GameFAQs or the internet, really, you were utterly confused why you couldn't damage this guy. So every boss battle after this incorporates something called absolute defense. So Demon Eat has 300 absolute defense. So you need to deal 300 hit points of damage in that one string before you actually damage him. And you'll see it here when he does the twisters. One twister will be roughly 300 lower than the other. I say roughly just because of damage variance. And Demon needs a boss that needs to have a crit or a strong weapon to be killed
Or
without using that vortex.
or a really good damage range. Now, I've been really conservative with my D-counter just for this because the vortex I had to use at the end there is actually not entirely necessary. If I got the crit, I wouldn't have had to use that extra 1%, so luckily I'm still within acceptable margins, and that's just kind of how you have to... That's why you have to be so conservative early on.
And if Rex was playing really conservative and he didn't have to use that vortex, that just meant he could D-dash through these rooms more. Just because you have the extra percentages, why not use them? A dash saves about a second and a half.
Yeah, a full like 0.1% D dash is about a second, a little more than that. But I just use like 1 second as a rule of thumb.
So, and then with the rooms with enemies, it also saves the time drop in the meat. So we picked this route to pick up an item called a Seventh Sense, which is dropped by this Pandora's box. It'll only drop it if you kill it on its first turn. Now the Seventh Sense is a really interesting stat boosting item, as in it boosts every stat by 50% for 1 turn. And on top of it, it's the only stat boost to carry over into the dragon form. So you're essentially giving yourself a free dragon boost, or a free dragon charge with every time you use it. So in the speed run, we effectively have 104% dragon counter. Now we pick these 2 routes just because they're the fastest to get between boss and boss. If Rex would have taken the southern path, he would have fought another region called Hortensia, which still gives you the 7th sense, but the path from Hortensia to the boss after that we want to fight, Jesuit, is a little more D-counter heavy. So Cupid has her sidekick Anakate, and Anakate has infinite hit points. You cannot kill him. So what you have to do is, if you're not using the dragon form, is just run around and try to kill Cupid while trying not to get killed by Anakate. So this boss, Cupid, and another boss coming after Jesuit are a guaranteed kill with 2 charges and 2 twisters. So we don't have to worry about that. Even if we were just still had the plain old Violet Blade, they would just go down. So, and then we're going to pick the north path to go to Jesuit. In a casual play, if you take the other teleporter, you end up fighting Bosch's father, Vexicon, with his 2 students. And if you're not prepared for that, that battle can wreck you pretty quickly. And more importantly for the speedrun, it doesn't offer you a 7th sense. So here we're just going to pick up our second one. And since he used that vortex on Demonede, you want to be at about 67 and a half-ish before fighting Jesuit. So we have quite a bit of D-counter to spare if we need to use a backup strat later on. So Jesuit uses his ability called Shadow Walk, which is greatly different from Breath of Fire 3 and 4. So while he's in his Shadow Walk form, he is 100% unattackable. Not even dragon abilities will do it. So you either have to run away from him for 2 turns, or place down 2 G-flares tightly. Now Rex is doing 3 just for marathon safety, but in a serious any percent, he would just place 2. So the idea behind it is you have to do enough damage to Jesuit to break his absolute defense, which he has a very low absolute defense of 50. So you can knock him out of it. He will come out of it after the third turn, but there's a high chance he'll go right back into it, and then he'll just catch up to you. So Jesuit's one of the bosses where we want to attack him from behind. When you attack an enemy from behind, it offers, nice crit, it offers a 100% hit rate, which Jesuit and a boss coming up, Elion, have a fairly high evasion stat. And we've been talking about how tight the D counter is. So if you miss an attack and then you got to use an extra 1.5% to kill it, it messes up your route pretty quick, especially if you're not prepared for it.
So I'm basically topping off my D counter. So if I did miss, it would be game over.
Yes.
Oh, you were gonna say something about that room?
So this room here is, if you played this game casually, is where the regents had their meetings throughout the whole game, which I think is a nice little touch because you don't really get to see that in a lot of games. So here we're opening up the pillars using the keys we've got from the regents, and then we're gonna open up the second lock to the sky with the key we got from Maybeth. Now, if you're playing this game casually, the shop here on the left hand has some of the best items you can get for the games, but they are rather expensive. And we're just going to do our last safety save of the game, just in case Bosch 3 does outspeed us or does some funky stuff that we don't agree with.
But mostly outspeeding.
Yes, mostly outspeed. So, casually, these two cutscenes here are some of my favorite in the game. So, Elion, you have to defeat within 20 turns, or it's an instant game over. Every 5 turns, she goes to a different phase. So, what we're going to do here is use the 7th sense, keep our weapon, decharge twice, and then twister. We want to make sure to once again attack her from behind, just to guarantee that hit rate. And if we get a crit...
No need.
Oh, good damage rolls. Nice. So if you're trying to do a 1/4 run, you can farm Elion in the ads using the Soul Restore and get quite a bit of party experience pretty quickly. So here we're going to equip the Violet Blade just for the extra speed. We're going to give ourselves another level just for that 1 extra speed point. And we're going to go see our buddy Bosch 3. So, and does he outspeed? Nope. So, Bosch, if we get lucky with the attack rolls, we'll go down with 2 charges and a twister. Now, if you've been conservative, you can use the Vortex. Nice.
So, you're sure I can do 3 charges and 2 twisters, right?
Let me... 90, yes. You'll be at 90.46.
I'm at 89.46 right now.
Yeah, 3 charges and 2 twisters is 9.
Oh, yeah. Actually, just for style, I'm gonna do what I usually do. Actually, no, never mind, because that wouldn't matter.
Yeah, you'll be 98.
Yeah, so never mind. Not as much style as I would like.
Yeah. So, because his D counter was under 90, because he was planning to use a little bit extra if he didn't get it, but he did, so he can do 3 charges and 2 twisters, which is basically a ×4 dragon and then ×3 attack. Normally in a serious any percent speed run, you'll see 2 charges,
Oh,
and 3 twisters.
Time is coming up, by the way. After I skip the cutscene with Jet Tire coming up after this.
And that's the victory lap boss.
Yeah, and time.
GG, sir.
That wasn't bad.
No.
I'm glad
you got the
I'm,
redo.
I'm glad I got my I'm glad I got my mulligan, even though it still went badly, but not as badly as last time.
No. That was a good recovery.
I hate that room. But yeah, I got a power boost for Cyclops, which is pretty good.
Yeah, and the party experience, and you got pretty lucky with the power meals.
Yeah, I got 2 of them.
So, I thank you everyone for watching. Go
Oh, yeah.
follow Twitch TV/Rexdawn for he is currently the any percent world record holder with 51 in-game minutes. I recommend you take him a follow. He's fantastic to watch, and he's done a lot for this game.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go back to serious 90% runs finally after preparing for this for so long. I could go back to doing really stupid shit and just getting myself killed.
Language.
Sorry, I got one. I get one.
So, we're glad everyone has the patience for us to go over to do a run again. Just for everyone else, we apologize that things were a little spotty in the beginning, but
I don't apologize.
It is a short run, and
I'm glad it happened. I got to do it again. But yeah, sorry. I hopefully that wasn't on my end that caused that.
It was all you.
Yeah.
No, it was probably me.
Yeah, no, apparently, like, audio was all messed up and I don't know.
Well underestimate, too.
Yeah.